RC with CJ back here. This time with an update video for y'all. I am going to be updating the wheels on my SCX10 2 from the original proline beadlocks, plastic beadlocks that I had, to some actual chanquish with some J.E.C beadlocks rings. So what you'll need is a 1.5 millimeter hex Allen wrench, and you'll need a 2.5 as well, and a 7 millimeter ratchet socket, and I recommend a long flathead screwdriver, or obviously I have my Leatherman, which has a long flathead that I'll be using. And I will also be changing out foams from the original ones that I had in it to ones I had from an extra set of wheels. Obviously, the extra ones that I'm changing to are taller and a little bit wider, but are a little bit softer compared to the original. But hopefully inside the wheel it won't really make too much of a difference. As you can see, I've already done one to just see how it looked and everything. So I got that one out of the way and back on, and I will do the rest and show you. Obviously, like I said, you'll need a 7 millimeter socket, or if you have a tire wrench, which will help. But what you got to do is get it on the center lug. Show you. Get it onto the center lug, and then need the ratchet part. I'm using a ratchet because it's a lot quicker. And then you just keep going until it comes off. So I'll stop it here and try to get this off, and I'll get back to you once I... Alright, so as y'all can see, I got all three that I haven't changed out yet off, and the noise that you hear above is obviously my niece is running across the floor upstairs, but just ignore that. What you'll need now, you need your 1.5 driver or Allen wrench, and then you're going to take it to each one of these screws on the proline wheels, and then twist it enough to, you don't have to twist it till it completely comes off, just enough so that way you can pop the bead off. So as you can see, I've done it, come on, focus. I've done it just enough to get that bead. And like I said, you have to do it to every single one. And like a true mechanic, you go counterclockwise, roughly, in an odd pattern. I try to go every 3 screws, and then just kind of crisscross it, because these have a lot of screws, which is one of the reasons why most people switch to something like chanquish, which, yeah, it still has a lot of screws in the front, but you don't need to undo those screws to undo the beadlocks. Instead, all you have to do was undo 6 in the back. A lot more simpler. But like I said, just enough to get that bead pop off. Now, it won't pop off immediately. You'll have to take your flathead or some kind of tool to pop the beadlock ring up. But once you get the screws done enough, you shouldn't have an issue. And I recommend going from the inside of the wheel instead of the outside. If you try from the outside, you risk penetrating the tire, puncturing a hole in it. And if you're like me and you don't like having, obviously you don't hear a squeak, which means it's airtight. But if you puncture a hole in the tire, or if you prefer to vent up to let air in, you can drill a hole in either the plastic in the center, probably on either side, so that way you can let it ventilate and deform for crawling. But I prefer to run softer foams and actually wheels that don't bend, so that way, or tires, because some people will actually put oil in their tires to bend them. But I prefer tires to remain intact and not to be vented. That way, if you run through water or snow or mud, none of that gets inside your wheels. And obviously, I'm not going to film undoing all 3. I'm just showing you how long roughly it takes by hand. Now, you can use a drill with a 1.5 bit to undo them and to snug them down. But I recommend using either a 1.5 driver or Allen wrench to actually torque them down. Because if you use the drill to torque them down to fully tight, you risk stripping the head out and the bit as well. But yeah, I tend to do it this way because it's quicker. What I mean this way is holding the tire sideways and just putting the driver into it and just twisting. But because I currently do not have a drill and a 1.5 bit. Alright, now that all the little screws are up to a decent degree, like a little hard to see because of the tire, but and my camera's not focusing, but yeah, just enough. So now what you want to do is you want to take your flathead screwdriver or whatever you have, and then just rest one side on the screws and apply pressure with the tip of it to pop that bead. Now, also I'm having a little difficulty because these have been sitting for a while, and there it goes. Just enough to pull that ring up. And now you pop that bead. Also, it takes a little coercion, and there it goes. It's off. Now, to save time, I'll stop it here and get the back side done. See you in a bit. Alright, as y'all can see, I got the wheel off. Now, what you'll do is you'll take the chanquish wheel and your 2.5 mil and undo the 6 screws in the back. Now these ones you will have to fully take off. And unlike the proline wheels, which are only they are a 3-piece, but the beadlock rings are separate from the main wheel. Where these, as you can see, you got the ring, the center ring, which keeps the tires locked to the rim. And then you got the 2 pieces of the ring. And what you want to do now is take out your foam from the tire. Just simple enough, you just pull it on through. Apparently, I must have a little water on my tire. But yeah, still, this is the one that was in it. This is the one that's replacing it. To show you even more on how much bigger that is. A little difficult to catch on camera, but yeah. That's how much bigger that foam is compared to the one that was in it. So place that off to the side. And then you stick the foam and coerce it into the tire. Well, it's probably easier without the center ring in. And what you're going to want to do is make sure your foam is nice and centered, which it's not quite centered, but I'll have to work it around. Which I will take one of the old rims and do it because it's a lot easier for me because it has an actual groove you can set the tire in. Like so. And that is one of the reasons why I like the proline rims. Is you can actually use that center groove, even though the tire doesn't go in there. That's where the foam is just supposed to sit. You can use that groove to actually center your foams. And now pull it off. And get that center ring back into it from the chanquish wheels. Make sure it sits nice and good. And then make sure your wheels are centered, and make sure your holes line up for your screws. You're going to take your screw and set it down through one of the holes in the back of the wheel. And you're going to have to apply a little pressure. Use your 2.5, screw one down, and then what I tend to do is I go to the opposite side, make sure it's lined up, apply some pressure, start screwing that one down, and then just try to get the screws started for each one, so that way it makes it a little bit easier working that foam around, making sure your bead is set right. Because if you're anything like me, you're a bit of a perfectionist and you like your tires looking good. You don't like the look of it looking like it's about to blow out. Which I'm sure once you have your screws down nice and good and you've done like what I've actually done, it actually seems like it's sitting right. So then you're just going to want to finish tightening those screws up. And just like a regular mechanic, you would go in random pattern, you know, skipping every often. I tend to go in tri pattern because it's only 6 screws. And if I did everything right, which hopefully I did, double check it, make sure it's all nice and tight. Alright. It's all set. And it should look like that. That's what you're going to be mainly doing. Now, to show you, all you really have to do to put it back on is take your RC. You got to make sure it is lined up with the hex on the back of the axle, like so. And then you're just going to take your little hex screw, your little wheel nut, place it on the center of the axle stud. Take your wheel wrench or 7mm socket, tighten it down, that's the finger tight. Now obviously, like I said, your 7mm socket or your tire wrench. Obviously I don't have a tire wrench at the moment, so instead I'm using a 7mm socket that I bought and a ratchet. Now you just want to get it nice and snug, you don't want to over tighten it. And there you go. But yeah, that's what it should look like from the front. I will get the other ones done and show you the aftermath of what it looks like. Well guys, there we are. There's the finished product. It's a lot wider now. She sits wider than she did with the proline wheels on. Now hopefully no more rollovers. And as you can see, I got J.E.C sticker on the back. how firm those are. Kind of soft. But like I said, I prefer softer with no ventilation. Those are people upstairs. But yeah. If you liked what you see, hit that thumbs up. If you want to see more, subscribe. Make sure you ding on that bell to be notified of more videos. And also be sure to comment if you liked it, if you want anything you want to see. Until next time, keep RCing, brothers and sisters.